have it any other way, we're going to move right into solutions. So we can't whine about it all night. We got some elections to fight and win and black folks to mobilize the vote, right, y'all? Okay. So, okay, yes, black love and black votes and black people's power all day long. Okay. So before we get started with the panelists, we wanted to do a little focus grouping. Y'all ready? Y'all know what a focus group is? Okay, well, y'all are the focus group. So the first question I have for you, y'all are too, actually. Y'all got to participate too. Please stand if you're able, if you have family members who are saying, I do not want to vote this election. Okay. I know, it's true. Okay, next question. Stand if you're able. Some of us might need to stay standing. Stand if you're able. If you have friends or family members who are saying, I do not want to vote for Joe Biden. Jesus Christ. Sorry. I got the mic on. Okay. Next question. This is a nonprofit organization. This is not a reflection of the organization. It is my own reflection. Next question. How many folks have friends or family members or neighbors who are saying, and I definitely ain't voting for Donald Trump? He's standing. Okay, dang near the whole room standing. Okay. Oh, and they said I got 5 on it. I got 10 on it. Okay. Okay. I know they said all the hands. And now I want you to stand if you're saying, and with all of that, I just need to know what the hell I'm about to do. Oh, no, y'all said, okay. I'm not talking about you voting. I'm talking about how you going to mobilize everybody else to vote. They're like, okay, maybe, I don't know. Yes, maybe, I don't know. Yes, maybe, okay. All right, everybody sit down. We're good. Well, the good news is, I just heard the chair. We were warned about these chairs. The good news is, tonight, again, is going to be about solutions. But first, we have to hear what people are hearing, and they got their ears to the streets. We got our ears to the streets. We want to know what everybody's saying. So first, I want to come to Insight. You're doing some really powerful work. A lot of people don't always understand how super PACs work, particularly when we're talking about how to engage Black people. Super PACs normally miss us, don't they? So I want you to talk a little bit about the role, the mission of the New South Super PAC, and what folks need to know about it.
Good evening, y'all. Hey. So yes, we founded the New South Super PAC in 2020. Ultimately, I believe fundamentally that in the quest to build the city, to build the Georgia, to build the country that my family deserves in, that I deserve to, I'm not leaving any tool off of the table. And so oftentimes people find themselves in a 501c3 lane, and that's the lane that they stay in, that's the lane that they fight in, that's the lane that they die in, right? People find themselves in an advocacy lane, that's the lane that they fight in, that's the lane that they die in. I'm trying to get free. I'm trying to taste what the good life looks like. I want to throw off some of these shackles of oppression while I'm still alive. And so I ultimately believe that if it is an LLC, if it's a super PAC, if it's a state PAC, that we should all be exploring the different ways that we, one, build the world that we want to live in, but two, fight back, because super PACs have been coming for our throats for a very long time, since Citizens United. Essentially, it is an entity that is allowed to raise money from any kind of corporation to advocate for political positions. And so where I stand is the 13 states of the former Confederacy. There are many cities and towns from Texas all the way to the DMV that are majority Black, that have never had a Black mayor, that are majority Black and Latino, that have never had a Black person serve on school board. And while I decry the limitations of just representation, just being Black, just because you're my color doesn't mean that you're my kind. Just because you're Black doesn't mean that you're going to work on a Black agenda. But we're not leaving any stone unturned. There's no city council race. There's no state legislative race. There's no congressional race in the Deep South where Black people can be the difference makers, that we shouldn't be trying to till the soil and turn up. And that's what we're doing at New South.
Thank you. Wes, I want to come to you because Inse talked a little bit about a Black agenda. That's something that's near and dear to your heart and something that we largely miss when we try to move our folks to the polls. Talk about the importance of having a Black agenda to stand on when folks in this room, the folks who you just saw standing up, like all of us on the stage, need to move bodies to the polls.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I want to show some love to our dear leaders, Tasha and Cliff, for the phenomenal work that Black Voters Matter does. We know that they get their flowers in some regards, but I think it's important that whenever we have the opportunity to truly appreciate them, we should do so. So thank you seriously for your work, your tireless work across the country. It is greatly appreciated. And then as a second personal point of privilege, I'm going to thank my sister, Angela Rahu. She going to kill me. But something that, many of you all don't know, Angela, she really works behind the scenes to ensure that a lot of people are connected. And while you all may see her on television, or I hope you all are subscribed to the new podcast, Native Land Podcast, you all may be listening there. She has, honestly, the biggest heart that you will find. I call her the Chris Paul of the movement, because she's the point guard of point guards. If she can help you,
okay, I'm uncomfortable. You're not answering my question either.
I'm going to answer, but I'm going to give you your flowers. If she can help you, she will. So, thank you, sis. I really appreciate you. All right, now to answer the
my question.
That's a real big sister, because that's how she always bullies me in the text messages. In all seriousness, though, so I think it's important, of the utmost importance, for us to understand that there's nothing wrong with us centering Black folk. So I want you all to repeat after me, if you will. There is nothing wrong.
There is nothing wrong
with us centering Black folk.
With us centering Black folks.
There is nothing wrong with us developing a Black political agenda first.
Us developing a Black political agenda first.
So again, yeah, Reverend Jackson. So it is of the utmost importance, in all honesty, that we say that and that we mean that. Oftentimes, when we are lobbying for individuals to go out and vote or to participate in the electoral process, we're thinking about a multitude of different things. We're thinking about anti-immigration laws. We're thinking about student loan debt. We're thinking about a wide variety of different things. And all of those things have an impact on Black folk. So there's nothing wrong with us saying that we want to center ourselves first. And in order for you to get my support, I want you to tell me what you're going to do for not just me, but my people. We have to be willing to be unapologetic with saying just that. Now, I served as a vice mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia for 4 years. Like, I get it. When you're in the office, when you're lobbying, when you're organizing, when you're on the ground, when you're in the streets, when you're around the way, whether it be at the liquor store, the basketball court, or in the classroom, we're trying to convince our people why we have to be engaged. But I firmly believe that in order for us to be convinced, we have to be shown what will happen and what won't happen when we do not participate. But for us to participate, everyone, especially those of you in this room, have to be willing to sacrifice our comfort levels to say that we're going to do what we have to do for us. And by me articulating that I'm going to do what I need to do for me and mine, doesn't mean that I am against you and yours. But I have to be willing to look out for me, because if I don't, ain't nobody else going to. And when the New South is organizing in Biloxi, Mississippi, or some of these very rural places in which we know ain't nobody who look like us, when Black Voters Matter is driving that bus from Anderson, South Carolina, like I went to South Carolina State, I know what's up. When we're going through Santee, and when we're going through some of these very rural places, and we see these people wanting to do everything they can to knock those buses and flatten the tires and get us off of where we need to be, the same boldness that we'll have and say that, nah, we're not going to have that, and stand up to them, we have to be willing to be bold to our elected officials and those who are vying for our vote to say that we want what we want for us politically. and show me your agenda for what you're going to do for us while us simultaneously creating our own agenda. So that's the work in my regard.
I love that. Tamika, it's so important to tie in what Wes is articulating around a Black agenda. Normally, when we talk about that, we're thinking about a national or a federal strategy. You're doing work here on the ground. Talk about how important it is to integrate that same mentality in local politics. Give them some words of encouragement because they're tired. And not that Tim Scott sick and tired of being sick and tired thing the other day. Don't ever quote Fannie Lou Hamer, Tim. That's on me too. That's not on Black Voters Matter. That is me. I own that.
We'll claim that. We'll claim that. Yeah, we'll claim that.
That's a nonpartisan complaint. Anyway.
No, we don't tolerate any misappropriation of anything Ms. Hamer has said. But for those who don't know, I'm an organizer here in Charleston, right? And I'm gonna scooch up a little bit in these tight jeans. All right. I'm an organizer here in Charleston, but I most recently ran for mayor of Charleston. And while I didn't, thank you. and while I didn't win, the journey was something that has changed my life, right? It changed my life because I got in the race to platform issues, specific issues that resonate with the Black community here in Charleston, but also working class folk, right? Because you can't talk about race without talking about class. Specifically, someone like myself. I introduced myself on the campaign trail as the daughter of Jim Crow refugees. Both of my parents, my father's a native of Guatemala Island, my mother's a native of Havelock, North Carolina. They both left the Jim Crow South and, found love in the club up in Jersey and then started a family in New Jersey where I'm from, right? But I tell that story because I always had 1 foot in South Carolina and 1 foot in, 2 feet in South Carolina and North Carolina and 1 foot up in the North. And what I learned in coming down and being connected to the South my entire life was that there's this network, this is connective tissue in rural communities. It might not have cable, you might not even have city water, but you got each other. You've got the church, you've got your school systems, these tiny ecosystems that make an entire community. And what I thought about as I ran was I remembered, how did things work when my parents were navigating whether or not they wanted to integrate or stay in the Black schools? How did things work when folks needed access to healthcare? We created our own systems. So when things were imperfect or we didn't have access to healthcare, we didn't have access to banking, we didn't have access to great quality jobs, we found a way. We created, we did our own Underground Railroad. My aunt left the South first. My aunts and my cousins, they would leave, and then that's how my family got up north. We all got that story. How many people got family in Philly, in Chicago, LA, everywhere, right? We create a way out of no way. And I think when we think about the odds we're up against, especially in a deeply, deeply red state like South Carolina, where it feels like we won't see a victory with the D next to it. When we have candidates in this room right now who've been undermined by the very party, and I'm being nonpartisan, I'm just saying, party politics can get a little crazy, right? And we might not have all access to those opportunities. We have to create a way. We can't give up because our ancestors didn't give up. We wouldn't be in this room if we gave up. So while I understand, I always want to acknowledge and have grace for people who are disenchanted, who don't want to participate. I'll never judge folks, right? I'm not going to shame you into voting because that doesn't work, right? But what I will remind you is that, remember, you come from strong stock. You come from ancestors, foremothers and forefathers who literally gave us the blueprint to when democracy was not extended to us, we created our own democratic apparatus. This is South Carolina. Reconstruction was popping. All right, so public schools emerged from our Black lawmakers, okay? Septima Clark and Bernice Robinson, a hairdresser and a school teacher, created a school to teach people how to read so they can participate in their own democracy. That's my heritage. That's where I come from. And I'll be damned if I'm gonna sit at home and just throw all of that history and all of that pride away. So that's what you have to tell people.
I love this. So to Cliff and Latasha, I'm gonna air the first grievance. I get so frustrated when we get close to election season and these people that we voted into position come back around. I get especially frustrated when you all are tied together with them as if Black Voters Matter doesn't isn't doing the work nonstop all the time, whether there's election coming up or a special election, another election, an election. Like y'all are always doing the work. So I want to know how we can separate those two thoughts. Like we do know candidates are going to pop up when it's most convenient. They are lobbying for votes. They are needing votes. They are developing agenda because that is what time it is. But y'all are doing this all the time, like without the proper gratitude, without the proper acknowledgement. That's why Wes went back and it was like, no, really thank them. So I want to, for the folks on the ground who are organizing alongside of you, what can they tell folks about why, even if there wasn't an election coming up, the Black voter as an individual, the Black voter and his or her needs, the Black voter and his or her demands matters all the time?
I mean, there's a few reasons why that's so. And first and foremost, because when Black voters get paid attention to, when our issues get dealt with, guess what? The whole country benefits. There ain't never been a point in history, there ain't never been a movement that we've been at the heart at where we got something out of it where other folks ain't benefit as well. In fact, arguably, other folks benefit more. You got a 14th Amendment right now that was really designed for us, but the entire country has benefited from that thing, right? You got all kinds of rights, even the voting rights that we had to fight for, the whole country. In fact, them fools who marching into the Capitol, being mad and trying to do an insurrection, are talking about freedoms that we got for them. So it's important. The Black voter matters. The Black voter matters because we benefit everybody. But more importantly, and part of that is that we matter because the reason that we're able to benefit everybody is because when you benefit the least of us, then everybody benefits. And the sad reality is in this country, we've been the least of us, right? We've had so far up that we've had to battle. Possible exception of our dear cousins, the indigenous, right? But we've had the longest history in this country of needing our health care dealt with, of needing that public education, of needing all the other things, of needing safety, of needing a healthy environment. So when you benefit our communities, then the entire country benefits. When you motivate our folks to vote, the entire country benefits off of that. When you deal with our issues, then you get like a multiplier of impact, right? And so all of that is true. But at the end of the day, even if nobody else benefited, and this is to Wes's point and all of our, even if nobody else benefited, it's important enough just because we us. It's important because just enough because we deserve it. Somebody say we deserve it.
We deserve it.
Right? Even if ain't nobody else benefits, say we deserve it. Right? In fact, we don't just deserve it, y'all owe us. Right? And so that's why it's important that we pay attention to Black voters and our issues because we deserve nothing but the best.
Well, since there's nothing else to say, I'm going to add a friendly amendment to my question. But let me tell you, the doors of the church are now open on a Friday night. Cliff, I loved it. Are they ready?
Hey, man.
Tell you I love Black people. I love us. Okay. I didn't forget. Latasha here. When we were, I love this. I want to see the clips from yesterday. Latasha, we were in the car. We were coming here and we can't help it. I don't know why every conversation we have turns into a panel, but it was a panel in the car. And Latasha was talking about the tools we need. And I think it goes right in tandem with what Cliff is saying. He's saying we deserve this attention. We deserve to matter. We deserve to have our needs met. We deserve to have our demands met. You also talked about the tools. We deserve to have the tools, and even if they won't give them to us, we can. Hello. I mean, it's church in here. She said we taking it by force. So, Latasha, what else you got to say? Don't tell me you ain't got nothing else to say on it. Say it now.
You know, there's a we appreciate that.
You're
That's
not in
true.
You're not in Kimberell's church. You saved. Did you see? There's a clip. I'm not shading her, but she got that lady together. Look at the clip. I'm on point. Look at the clip. It was funny. Look it up. I'm on point. Go ahead.
So there's kind of two pieces to that. Cliff got me all. I'm like, come on, y'all. Well, let's roll, right? You know, there's, to your earlier point, part of the way that I think we got to shift our paradigm of how we're seeing political engagement. We confuse y'all. Black folk been real clear that this system wasn't for us. And when you think it is, that's when you start creating all these other things, not understanding using it as a practical, pragmatic tool for the freedom of your people. We're clear about that. We've been very clear. There, and I'm going to go even back to even when our folks were enslaved in this country. We were very clear in certain circumstances that literally we utilized what was available to create some space so that our people could have the freedom, those that needed to leave, to escape, to come get the rest of us, those who were working in the house that needed to get food to feed some of us, so those who actually could steal a little medicine so that when our people got beat or hurt, that they could solve them. We were very clear, right? It wasn't about, I don't like this doctor. It wasn't no damn doctor, right? It wasn't about, I don't like how they talking or what opinion. We didn't have that. And so how disabuse yourself that we're in some space that you got the privilege to pick the perfect candidate in a country that ain't perfect. And so I'm saying that because I want y'all to hear me. I'm saying that because we got to be, our ancestors were very sophisticated to be able to utilize what tools were available, if nothing else, but to release some of the pain, right? It is selfish when you think that you got the audacity to vote for yourself. Our power has never been about us voting as an individual. When I go and I vote, it's for mom and them. Because whether or not I can depend or I can afford health care, when they cut off Medicaid, right, it impacts my family and my people die. This is real, y'all. This ain't about I'm talking about a party or people. It's about pragmatism, being pragmatic. And sometimes we're not honest. Sometimes we got these ideas, and people want to talk about third party. We can tell you about third party, can't it, Cliff? Right, please don't talk to me about that and you ain't done nothing to be a one. Right, because we can speak on that, because we have. But let me say this, because I really want y'all to hear me. Part of our conversation of what Angela and I were talking about in the car is, if somebody breaks into my house and I don't have a gun, I don't have a weapon of choice, and all I got is a fork, I'm gonna stab the hell out of you with that fork. If you are trying to kill my family, it's not the ideal tool. It's not even the protection mechanism that I want, right? But at the end of the day, whatever tool is available that will protect me and my family, I have to use it. Some of us are so selfish or so immature in our thinking. And this ain't about age. Because I am literally, young folks, y'all got me on fire. But that's a whole nother story. Like, I'm following y'all. But it is, I want to shift this, right? I understand this whole notion of we deserve people that are going to represent us. We do. I'm from Alabama. How many times you think that my folk got this great candidate to vote for? What kind of privilege we had that? Where they do that at? That's right, because you got Miss Stephanie out there in Michigan, right? But my point is, voting for Black folks has always been a pragmatic, practical choice, if nothing else but for harm reduction. And so I'm saying that because we find ourselves in a circumstance where we inherited, right? That we inherited that at the end of the day, it is any tool, whether that's resources, part of us have worked jobs. How many of y'all don't work jobs that you hated, but you had to feed your family? Raise your hand. How many of y'all have done some work to bring money or contract in your household that you did not want to do that thing, but you had to feed your family? We do it every day. I'm saying this because, yes, we have to do two things. One, just like y'all, I am tired of engaging in systems that marginalize and devalue my people. I'm so tired of it, y'all. I am tired of literally having to go into every single system that I know that literally I had to take my aunt to the doctor. I was telling this the other day. It broke my heart, but I understood. She literally, we go to a doctor in Selma. In Alabama. She didn't want me to wear my shirt because she said when they see Black Voters Matter, they're gonna treat me different. Do y'all think she was lying? It ain't the thing that I want to do. If I was in my mindset 20 years ago, I would have been like, well, they just gonna have to deal with the shirt. But as a grown, mature woman that loved this woman, like, the fight ain't on my shirt. The fight is here. And so some of us, in my opinion, we have been drawn by this social media. I got to be an outward activist, don't do no work. I'm just being honest. But we're a political pundit because we got 2 tweets and 5 people following them. And that position, no. We got and our position has created those 5 likes. And so now we feel affirmed because we've got those likes. And now we're regurgitating a position on something that we've not done any study about, right? A position that we've not done any work around, a position that is not grounded in anything. Do you know how dangerous that is? And I'm saying this because at the end of the day, we are still dealing with the repercussions of what happened in the Reagan years, right? And I'm saying that because at the end of the day, if we don't have the luxury to be we don't have the privilege or the luxury in this country that is just based on who we like or who we don't like. I'm just being honest. We don't. Or who excites us. This election is not going to be who is excited. Hell, we weren't excited by Biden in 2020, if y'all be honest. So now all of a sudden y'all act like literally, who was excited? It's not about who excites us. This election is really going to be determined about who ignites us. And so the question is, what's going to ignite our people? For us, me and Cliff, and I'm gonna wrap this up. What Cliff and I were very clear about is even in the theme of Black Voters Matter, if you look at the back of the shirt, who got a shirt on? On the back of the shirt, what does it say? It is about us. That the frame of what we have looked at, because literally in some ways we listen to white media. I just need y'all to hear me. We listen to white media and then we start approaching voting like white folks approach voting. But our reality in this country ain't the same as white folks in this country. That's just the truth, right? Because there are some decisions that will take our people out, right? There are people right now, they're white boys making millions of dollars of selling marijuana right now, having marijuana festivals, and I got cousins that went to jail for 23 years, right? I'm saying that because it's real. So don't be playing with our families' lives because you got a political position because you just got on TikTok. Don't do that, y'all. We got to engage in a real conversation because it is authentic. We all tired of this bullshit, right? It is authentic and real that literally we're engaged and we got candidates that we may not be excited about, that some of them are really problematic. It is real that oftentimes we've had to vote for people that literally got very problematic positions. The question is, how are we going to shift this and have this conversation about what is the best piece for us that's going to provide some protection for us? So at the end of the day, no, I don't have a gun. No, I don't have a knife. All I got is this fork. But I swear to God, if you try to roll up on me and my baby, I ain't got nothing else but this fork. I'm going to have to use it. I'm not going to depend on the fork, though, but hear me out. I'm not going to depend on the fork. I've got to put myself in a position that I won't ever have to be that vulnerable. And so it's two ways. It's as we are doing this work, we can't just depend on this political system. All this got to shift, right? We've got to build at the same time, but it's irresponsible for us to say that at this juncture that we're not going to do nothing, because when we don't do nothing, some of our people die.
Okay, I love this. Latasha has preached us down on pragmatism. While I ask this next question, because I have another grievance, LB, I want you all to start making your way to the mic to address your grievances. We're going to spend about 15 minutes on that, and then we're going to be moving towards solutions, because it's a primary election next Saturday, okay? And we are in full election season. Yes, and a special election coming up. So here's the question. You are 1,000% right, LB. You know that. There are a lot of people who may not be in this room. I think this is a very privileged room. Most of the people that we're speaking to in this room, this is the choir, right? We are preaching to the choir. We know that y'all need to be. The choir don't want to sing. The choir is tired, right? But also, you all know this to your core that she's right? It resonated when she said it. And yet, and still, the latter part of what you said, that we have to build something different, something that really serves us. So when we say it's about us, it means something different. Every election we say, we just got to hold our nose and do the thing, and next time it's going to be better. Next time we're going to have a better bench. Next time we're going to have better initiatives. Next time our agenda is going to be tight. Next time we're going to stand united and work together. Next time we're not going to tear each other down with 5 tweets and 2 followers, or the other way around, right? We keep going to this next time, but there's got to be somebody in here who has a family member that says, what about now? Right? And I'm not saying that is in opposition to what you're saying. I just want to get to the second part of what you raised. I guess nobody in here got a grievance, so I'm going to air this full grievance for y'all, since you're not making your way up to the mic. She said, oh, I'm going to go down. Come on. You can go to the mic. Go to the mic. Go to the mic. But while we're being pragmatic, we do need to reimagine something that really serves us. So I want one of y'all, whoever feels moved, the spirit is all over this stage, whoever feels so moved, to respond to that, and then we're gonna go to our family over here.
Oh, okay.
No, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second.
1 second.
Go ahead. Wes.
I would say, one thing I've learned from Angela is the power of timing and doing things the right way at the right moment in the time in which when you're supposed to do it. Not when you feel like it should be done, not when you feel as if you want this right now, but doing it at the right time, the right way, and most importantly, with the right people. I learned that specifically from my sister. So when you ask the question, Angela, about what about now, I think there are undoubtedly some people in this room who feel as if I am going to do something now to address what we have to. And you have every absolute right to do just that. But I think there is also something magnetic about us deciding to work in unison in a wide variety of different ways to align our timing up to be the most impactful and effective. So my friends and I, we worked on something called Our Black Party, as Tasha alluded to, trying to, we gonna have this third party. And my sister was telling me, I'm with you. We got to make sure we time this right, and we got to make sure we understand the work. Tasha and Cliff tried to develop their own, like, y'all, when we talk about developing and doing what we have to do for us right now, collectively across the country, it is a challenge unlike very, very few of us have ever had to endure. But that doesn't mean that we can't. So to answer your question, Angela, when you say, what about now? I firmly believe that we have to go through these muddy patches to get to the clean water that's ahead of us. That well is being developed. Wells don't just run, like you have to develop wells. You have to go through the trenches. You have to dig them a little bit. You have to figure out who's willing to dig with you. You gotta go through some things in which you understand, well, this person is a little bit more, she's a little bit better at digging with this particular way, and I may be a little bit better of digging over here. But we gotta go through things together so that we know we can trust each other. I see my brother back there, David White, the unofficial mayor of Charleston, South Carolina. He got his own day here in Charleston. Literally, he has his own day. I have to go through things with David. Like, we went to school together, but we also know each other through community work. We have to go through things with each other to trust each other. And I ain't just talking about with no nonprofit dollars or some C4 dollars. I gotta be able to trust that when you may be attacked, you ain't gonna falter or just completely fall back. I gotta be able to trust that you're gonna hold me accountable when I do mess up. I got to be able to trust that even if it's just us going to jail together, we're going to go to jail together as we have done. So to answer Angela, and I'm going to shut up. The power of now, that answer is so complex. Many of you are doing, continue to do. But that timing, and this is just my opinion, God is going to tell us, as he's already shown many of us. And now it's going to be up to us to effectively listen and then work in divinity and in divine timing to get to where we need to be. And as Moses led his people to the promised land and didn't get to go, some of us are going to do the same thing. But it's not about always going there. It's about getting your people there. As the church says, it's about us. So just keep that in mind as we do. Sorry.
No, you don't apologize. I want to come to you. You ready for your question?
Okay, I just got the chills. Sorry.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Crystal, co-founder of Protective OGA. Woo, y'all, I am so happy to be here right now. I'm about to cry. I have been attacked just off of what we're doing right now, and it is so important to be around people who understand. Like they said, they preaching to the choir. We know what happens when they take away our voting rights, right? And my community means everything to me. I'm from South Central LA. So, we was taught to not get caught up in a system. So politics and my community, they don't go together, right? And so, but I know the importance of our voting rights, which they're trying to, take away from our voting rights in Georgia. And constantly, right? But, my grievance is in this particular moment, in this presidential election, we have a genocide going on, and that's breaking me down. A couple of genocides, thank you. And I was actually approached by one of my childhood friends' mother the other day, and she asked me who I was voting for. And logistically and, what we know, I said I was voting for Biden. But I'm saying this as an individual, not, under my nonprofit as a co-founder. And I was attacked, and she starts sending me pictures of, the kids and the rubble and all of those things. Like, I'm not seeing the same thing. And so my question here to you all, that really hurt me, because I see the same images. How are y'all dealing with that? And how do we have that conversation with our loved ones? And where are we now with that? And how can we still get the messaging that it's important for us to show up? And folks want to vote for Cornel West, which is great too. But how can we tell folks the importance of voting for the person who is going to help us reduce the most harm? And thank you.
Thank you. You come.
So this is what I'll say. One, there's never been a presidential election where you've walked in and it's just the president on the ballot. There's an entire ballot. In California's ballot can be 50 pages. South Carolina's ballot is multiple pages. That as much as we tell ourselves these stories about the superhero and the Messiah, and we focus on an individual, that there is an entire United States House of Representatives, there's an entire United States Senate, and there are state legislators that are all participating in, or at the very least ignoring, a genocide. And so the idea that if you are deeply concerned by this, there are a number of people, there are a number of voices that we can't stop. There was the Birmingham Children's March, and then white folks turned up and burnt down churches and bombed churches with 4 little girls in it. And there were more terrorist attacks, and there were more terrorist attacks. And then the National Guard came in, and then the president came in, and then we got the Voting Rights Act of 1964, or Voting Rights Act of 1965. And then what I'm telling you is that throughout the history of the United States and throughout the history of the world, that we experience here's my metaphor. We take 2 steps forward, we take 1 step back, right? That we make a bunch of progress and then we get kicked in the teeth, we get knocked to the mat, and then we get up again. That when you see human rights violations happening, you say something and you do something. You use the tools that you have, where you are, with the people that you are able to influence, with whatever energy you have in your body to say stop, right? Or to ask for or demand the things that you want to see. That voting is one tactic, right? It's one thing that we do in service of building the world that we want to live in. And if it's urgent and you feel this in your body, you feel like I can't be silent, then you shouldn't have to sit there and you shouldn't have to share it. People will try to spread disinformation. People will try to shame you into silence by calling you anti-Semitic, right? Because you're asking questions. You should never stop asking questions. And if it feels wrong in your body and it doesn't feel right to you, then you should absolutely say that you don't have to have a Harvard degree in order to understand that when you kill people for immutable characteristics, that is the technical definition of genocide, right? And so all I'm saying is there are terrible things that are happening. There are multiple $billion-dollar natural weather disasters, climate disasters that are happening while we have elected officials that are pretending like climate change isn't real, right? And here's what I will tell you is that between the 1920s and the 1970s, they called this period in the United States the Great Migration. 6 million people, essentially over 50, 60 years, left the Deep South and went to the Midwest and went to the coast, right? Black people in Detroit traced their roots to Mississippi. Black people in New York and New Jersey traced their roots to the Carolinas, et cetera, et cetera. And it fundamentally changed everything about this country. Now we fast forward to the next 5, 10 years where 60 million people have to leave because of climate disasters, and we still have elected officials that are not paying attention. So you got 25,000 people being murdered over here. You got 60 million people. California might fall off into the Pacific Ocean. Florida might fall off, and we're all pretending like it's not happening. So there are several ways for us to turn up. Voting is one of them. I'm telling us that you do what you can, when you can, with what you have, because that is how we are going to get free. And it ain't never been one person who gave a dope speech. It's never been one person who we voted for. It's never been one professor. It's never been one pastor. Listen, we talk about the March on Washington all the time. The work of the women of Delta Sigma Theta was completely uncredited. There was barely any women who spoke on the panel at the March on Washington, but these are the people who fed us when we got from Mississippi on these buses to Washington, D.C. So what I'm telling you is that you do what you can with what you have, where you are, because that is the only thing that has protected us. That's the only thing that has saved us. It ain't no superheroes, it ain't no messiahs, and it ain't no cavalry coming. We've always had each other's backs, that our struggle has been intersectional the whole time. What that means is that my race, my gender, my class, my nationality, that those things are always on the table. We've always looked out for each other. There's nothing wrong with Black people, that we are responding to an intersecting set of oppressions. And thank you for bringing up Reagan and what he has done, because we are living inside 40 years of someone else's imagination of what America could be, right? So when Angela asked, what can we imagine? Can we imagine something different? I know it's hard, right? Because it's so easy when people ask you what you hate. I can tell you the people I hate, the things I hate, the food I hate with ease, right? But to talk about the things that I love, the things that inspire me, the like hopes and ambitions and the dreams that I have for myself, because America has broken my heart so many times, it feels much more difficult to say that out loud. What is it that you want? So hear me. Ain't no cavalry coming. There's nothing wrong with Black people, right? That we are responding to a set of oppressions, and we are responding to a set of systems, right? That the backlash that we see right now is in direct response to the power that we are building, that they see us coming, this is inside the result of someone's imagination about what was possible. And so I just encourage you all to don't be afraid to, one, say this is not right. I might not understand the 400-year history of the Levant area, right? But my eyes are not lying to me. I have an imagination. I have a vision for myself and my family, and one that I'm willing to fight for. And I know some people that are really willing to mob up with me because our visions are aligned about the world that we deserve to live in.
Thank you. So we have several other grievances. I really want us, and this is a charge to the panel, we also have to encourage ourselves. Right? We also have to reimagine for ourselves, because to your point, and say it's hard. But what I don't want to get away from in this room, this is a room where people have come in here for support, to be able to lean up against what you're saying. This sister is talking about a moral struggle that she's having to not only encourage someone else to do the thing that she's got to do, but to be able to sleep at night knowing that this is the ballot she has to cast. We need to create some spaciousness for that. Even if that means getting vulnerable ourselves, let's try to be in community, in dialogue with the folks in here, because they don't have anywhere else to go. We got each other. That's, I think, our point of privilege, being up on this panel. And I'm not trying to speak out of turn for any of y'all, but this might be the only place they can come to be able to get this grievance off in a safe space and get a safe answer. So let's just make sure we're keeping that in mind. Sir, I see you. I want to make sure I bring you up.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank Black Voters Matter. And I'm doing that right now because I got to regain my composure where my mind is at. My name is Keith Rivers. I'm the president of the Pasquotank County branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And we are a little city that is right about 20 miles from the Virginia line. And so all of our media comes out of Virginia. So North Carolina doesn't see us and we don't see North Carolina. And everything around us is rural. Within 24 hours of the Chauvin verdict, right after George Floyd, excuse me.
It's all right, brother. Come on.
Take your time.
No, we hold the space. No, you don't. We hold the space.
On April the 21st, 2021, they shot a brother in the back of the head with an AR-15 rifle, fired 30-some other shots in his head when he was rolling out. He was slowly going away. The coroner's report said that it was homicide. And the media came into our city. They sold out every hotel in the city. And we marched for almost a year. And we didn't burn down any buildings. We didn't shoot each other. We didn't do anything. And the media left. The media left. And those deputies that murdered Andrew Brown Jr. go to work every day. And my question is, where's the media now? Where's the black media? Who's telling our story now? When they sold out hotel rooms, I guess we didn't burn down buildings, we didn't kill each other, so the media left. Where's the black media to tell this story? That these white deputies, one of them is biracial, it don't make no difference, they all under that wall of blue. They shot this brother in the back of the head. And nobody's telling this story today. And maybe this story get told, the same sheriff got reelected. The district attorney became a judge. We don't have a black judge in our district. Who's telling our story in these rural areas? And maybe if the media, and I'm talking to the black media because I don't give, let me tell you something, brother, and I heard you. I'm pro-black, I'm unapologetically black, but I ain't anti-white or anti-anything else. I just do what the Bible says, charity starts at home. But maybe if our media, if the black media start telling our story, we won't have a problem getting people to the polls. So that's my anguish now. We need you all in these rural areas. And I'm sorry, but you know.
Do not apologize.
We love you, Keith.
I want to come to you, Tamika, because I promised to Keith. I heard you. I want to make sure I get this information. It's not a huge platform, but the podcast, I will assure you the podcast will cover this, okay? Tamika, I want to come to you. I don't know if it was his spirit that we were feeling, but I was like, it feels like we can't really preach it. Like, we need to be just in communion with y'all. So Tamika's been already there, setting the atmosphere. So
yeah, I just want to take a moment just to ground myself in that. It's kind of serendipitous. I was probably going to try to jump into the last question, but this is actually, look, as an organizer here, I've kind of created my own untraditional path, and that hasn't always. It's been a journey, right? And where I've ended up is that I wanted to occupy a spot in media because our stories in the South are seldom told. At this juncture, mainstream media, legacy media, they aren't telling our stories, and we need to tell our stories. But moreover, not just because of what doesn't exist, but what did exist. Even while we were in bondage, we practiced what you would call resistant bondage. We published newspapers while in bondage, right? Here in the South, at the back of the room, I see a radio personality right there. Gino, how you doing? Right, you have in the South right now, while a lot of media is shuttering their doors, Black radio, terrestrial radio in the South is still a stronghold, still has quite an imprint on the South, right? Me, myself, I was a live streamer. I used the Twitch platform. I probably pissed some people off in this room, I'm sorry. Trying to interrogate power and trying to hold folks accountable. The reason why I brought that up, especially following that comment, is to encourage us. Not only do we need to continue to create platforms. I mean, I think I interviewed Cliff and Natasha when I had an own radio station a program. We have to create the media. We have to create. We have to use the tools at our disposal. We're having a lot of conversations, and I'm not going to ever shame anyone for having fun and frivolous conversations about, all kinds of things. But we have an opportunity right now, the technology, the wherewithal, and organizations like Black Voters Matter will literally extend, whether it's resources or connecting people. Tasha connected me to media from across the country, right? We have to find a way to get our stories out. And you're right, the Black media needs to meet the community, especially in places that aren't major cities. We should definitely call on those with platforms to come and tell our stories. And it's very important to me because that's the legacy we came from. There are a bevy of historical Black newspapers that no one has ever heard of that came from Charleston and from the Columbia, from throughout. The Georgetown Planet, the Charleston Advocate, the Lighthouse and Informer. We come from this rich history of telling our stories. We have to find the way to get that out. But also, traditional media is suffering so much right now, and it's proven where there is a lack of newspapers or local media, democracy is dying. We're losing the outcomes of those elections. They are directly correlated to the media deserts that are in your area. That's intentional. Also, our areas, right? My family still lives on Guadalupe Island. Internet connectivity is not great. So we even when we want to get access to the internet, we cannot get access. And so these are things that we need to impress upon our lawmakers to improve. And you said something just a moment ago about what's on the ballot, and you alluded to down ballot elections. To me, the presidential is not the Super Bowl. It's a warm up. I ran for mayor, and at grassroots campaign, my team and I knocked 2,000 doors, right? And so it's important that we get our community to engage with down ballot elections, with the less sexy elections, and we tell them what we need to see. But we definitely need to make sure that media does not forget us. This is Charleston. This is North Charleston. This is where Walter Scott, lost his life, right? We needed Black media. If it wasn't for that one gentleman, that person, filming what happened to Walter Scott, that story would not have been told. And so we have to be courageous enough to tell our stories.
I literally have 30 seconds. I know we got to.
You and Cliff, and we got, okay, let me just
seconds.
tell you this. We have 3 more grievances and we need to get to solutions. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
may have 30 seconds and then I'm going to Cliff and his sister. Go ahead.
Brother, I love you. And I appreciate you.
Amen.
And I just want to say this. If nobody came and told the story, you told it, and we still have to do the work.
Amen.
It's an unfortunate reality. But I want to make sure you know that you're affirmed, Black folk to Black folk, but specifically Black man to Black man. And remind you, brother, we love you, and we still have to work. If nobody else comes, we still have to work. So keep working, and thank you.
This brother knows how I feel about him, right, Keith? And connecting your remarks and with what Wes just said about the work, what Keith didn't share is they kept working. And in their most recent election, they took the mayor's office.
That's right.
They took 5 out of 8 city council seats.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure that the murder was one of the issues that drove their organizing to help them win. They took their pain and turned it into power.
Amen.
Much the way Ferguson took their pain and turned it into power, into progressive DA. Before Ferguson, we didn't even know the term progressive DA, right? They took their pain and turned it into a mayor like Tashara Jones, right? The people of, I know Barbara over there knows, and some of our Georgia fam over there know, the folks in Brunswick and Glenn County, Georgia, where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered, they took their pain and they turned it into power. They took the DA that refused to investigate Brother Arbery's murder, and they said, you about to lose your job. And she lost her job and then got indicted. So I thank you, Keith, for through your pain, through Elizabeth City's pain, continuing to do the work and turning it into that power. It's not over. We could still get justice, but you've taken that pain, you've turned it into power. And what you've done is you've helped share it. I know Angela's going to talk about it on the podcast. That's Black media. But guess what? You've already shared it on Black media, because guess what? Black Star Network is streaming this right now. So you've already turned it into Black media that is going to continue to share that story. So I just want to thank you for telling your truth and for doing that work and helping all of us to turn our pain into power. Thank you, Brother Keith.
Yeah. He said, thank you to Black Voters Matter. So we have 3 more grievances. I'm going to collect those grievances back to back, have the panel respond, and we're going to get right into solutions. Y'all ready for solutions? Okay, good. We're going to hear a few more of these grievances. Also, shout out to the legendary Barbara Armwine. Did not see you sitting here. Y'all talk about a preacher. I'm going to make sure you hear from her on solutions before we leave. Yes, ma'am.
I want to start with thanking Black Voters Matters, because when I came in on Thursday night, I came in really thinking about walking away from movement building. And this is my 50th year in this work in civil rights. I am Reverend Corinne Mack, the president of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg NAACP. And I'm going to tell you, born and raised in Harlem, my perspective is very different, because I had to fight for a biscuit in our household, number 12 of 13 children. And coming into a city who did not receive a woman who was outspoken and quite authentic, but sometimes brutally honest, has been problematic. I want to tell you a little bit about what I've gone through. And Keith Rivers is my brother. We bounce off each other, and I need him and he needs me. I received a call from the FBI 2 years ago. And the call was to let me know that white supremacists had a whole website on me. And I thought that the organization that I work with would have my back, but they were mute. And that began this road of, am I alone? Am I walking alone? I think many people in this room sometimes feel as if they're in this work alone. What I truly feel is that we are interconnected. As Black people, historically, our ancestors went through far more than what we're going through, but they understood that love was an action word. And love was the foundation of everything that they were and everything that we still are. And that's why this organization has been a blessing to me, because it gave me an opportunity to really begin to look at the fact that I'm not alone, and I feel some hope. I am hopeful today. But I'm a little emotional because my brother was just emotional, so I'm emotional. He cries, I cry. I want to talk about the fact that all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Tell it.
So in Charlotte, over the last 17 years that I've been here in North Carolina as a retired union vice president, I came here understanding my responsibility in walking in my purpose, my God-given purpose, and helping people get into office that look like me, only to find out they were Negropeans. And I don't play those kind of games. And so I consistently began to be very vocal about the Negropean, who was doing harm to the Black community. Because if you hurt one, you hurt all. And so there was a real organized effort to get me out of office, a real major attack, but God said yes. And when God says yes, no man can say no. That doesn't negate the fact that we need to be real serious about who we are supporting as Black people. That if they don't have the 5 C's, if they're not committed, if they're not courageous, if they're not conscious, if they're not caring, and if they don't have character, we shouldn't be supporting them.
You better teach.
That's simple. God bless you.
Say that again. Say it again.
Courageous, committed, conscious, caring, and of character.
May the Lord add a blessing to the reading and the hearing of his word. Yes, sir. We having a revival. It's a revival, LB.
That's how we do.
Hello, I am Adrian Constaneri Jr., student from Grambling State University, but here with Black Voters Matter Liberators in Training, also known as LIT. And one of the grievances that I truly do have is, well, to put it for a lack of better terms, women and children. There is not a lot of conversation right now with the candidates that we've been presented with for reproductive rights. There's not a lot of talk for when the child is here, if you're going to protect them so much. Am I going to be fine sending my child to school? Are they going to be reading books? Are they going to be reading? What type of world is it going to be that they're going to be in that's actually going to make them a contributing member to society? And how am I going to be able to trust that whatever person is to earn my vote is going to represent me in every aspect of representation? I'm 24. I have no kids. I have no wife. But I do know those are things I plan for. But if I'm going to make that plan, I got to make sure that they're going to have something that they can rely on, something that's going to be helping them when I can't, where I can't reach. So that is my main grievance, is that there is not a lot of conversation that's going on about protecting women and children, but for some odd reason, dictating what they do is always in the media.
Good evening. My name is Willette, and I'm so proud of the youth that are here. Y'all are the future. We got to pass the torch, and I'm so happy about the solidarity, the unity, and our ancestors are proud. We just have to get some more people on board, but my grievance is reparations. Reparations now, and that's what I imagine, us having reparations.
Thank you.
I
love when she walked away and said, "We fight back. Black voters matter" on her back. She said, I'm gonna face reparations in the front. We fighting back on the back. Okay. So I want to open the 3 grievances that we've heard to the stage. I want us to be thoughtful but brief, conscious of time, because we have about 20 minutes, really 18, to address solutions. So I want to, if anyone feels led, so move. Oh, yes.
There are multiple different frameworks and proposals for reparations. It ultimately is going to be a money thing, and it ultimately comes through Congress, right? That Congress is the ones that write the checks and approve what gets spent. And so I wouldn't even focus on the presidential election if reparations is my #1 organizing issue, if it's the animating issue for me, that it's a congressional play. And there are multiple people running for Congress from South Carolina. Where do they stand on reparations? 1, I feel like that's very important. 2, point of personal privilege I'm going to take in this panel, as a Black immigrant and a person who came to this country and became a U.S. citizen my senior year in high school, when I tell you that the world is standing with American descendants of chattel slavery, that Caribbeans, that the people from the 54 countries in Africa, that folks in Asia definitely have their own colonizers to go after, and the world is waiting and eager and with Black Americans as they turn up on the US government and come for everything that is owed and owed to their ancestors. I think that, again, when I see like some of the reparations conversation online, it quite frankly is being fueled by the right wing. And so we need to hear more people. We need to make more media. I want to point out that making more media is my other solution, that we only really know what really happened to George Floyd is because a girl, even though she was scared, kept her phone up, right? We only really know what happened to Eric Garner because Ramsey Orta, who they're still messing with and who they put in prison, kept his phone up even though he was terrified, right? That Eric Garner, George Floyd, Alton Sterling, that oftentimes the narrative that comes from the state is self-serving and quite frankly bullshit. And it has been people who, with what they had at that moment, did what they could, right? And they presented the actual truth and presented a counter narrative, and the truth spoke for itself, right? And so, one, there is money. The U.S. has provided reparations for all kinds of groups. Two, it is a congressional play, and so it's a House of Representatives play. I mean, what the president says is important, but this is something that can be built across in all somebody tell me 435 congressional districts in the country, right? This is a real thing. And then again, number three, it's also a global issue because Jamaicans want to see the UK, right? The people in Brazil want to see the Portuguese, right? And so folks are waiting for Black Americans to pull up at the United States Capitol, and we're coming for what you owe the Cold Crush and my ancestors.
Thank you. Are there other responses to the other grievances that were shared? I think part of the, go ahead, Wes. I think part of the importance of that was just for people to be able to say what they were feeling so they know they're not alone even in that sentiment. But Wes, go.
Yeah, I'll say there's a couple things that come to mind from skinfolk aren't kinfolk, to legislating over women's bodies, and then specifically for reparations. The hardest job I've ever had in my life was being a Black elected official. The most challenging experience of my life was being Black and elected. And I think it's important for us to be able to maintain a level of grace for those who are trying to figure out how to lead people, lead themselves, and navigate, as Tasha alluded to, a system that was never built for us, while managing and leveraging expectations of a multitude of people who have placed a wide variety of things upon you. So while many of us look for a level of veracity, bravado, intellectual and political acumen, strategy, tenacity, and then showing up for any and everything that there is to show up for, I just want us to keep in mind that these Black elected officials specifically are humans. They're not characters on a television or playing in a game. Like, we're real people. So I want you all to just, if we can find it in our hearts, to have some grace while also having accountability, but grace for people who are trying to figure it out. When we talk about reparations, how Angela and I actually came to met, we met was I was known in Charlottesville for removing these Confederate monuments, but I wrote something called the equity package, which people call reparations. And on a local level, it was $4.5 million specifically to Black communities, $2.5 million for public housing redevelopment, $1 million to our African American Heritage Center, $50,000 for anybody who lives in public housing to go and get their GED for free, $50,000 for anybody who lives in public housing or below a certain income level to go to community college for free, job training programs and so forth. So it was like our own version of, thanks.
Wes, I just want him to pause right there. He had something called the equity package. If y'all could go back to your friends and family and say that there was an agenda that existed that included an equity package, wouldn't it make it a little bit easier to get them to vote?
Yeah.
You said no? Oh, you said
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you said no. Okay. Well, besides it say, for a lot of us, that would mean there's something for them to hold on to that's tangible. Maybe not the size of the package, but the fact that there was at least attention paid to them and they cared enough besides a Juneteenth federal holiday, which we're grateful. Harriet
Right.
Tubman eventually will be on the $20 bill,
Right.
but we would like some 20s to spend as well,
Right.
I think.
Right.
Go ahead, Wes. I just
So-
think that some people need something to hold on
The
to while they're
reference.
pitching people to move to the polls.
Right. So the reason why I bring that up, and thank you, Angela, a person trying to figure these things out, it is incredibly hard. So I only ask for some of us to figure out ways in which we can be of assistance to help persons get to where they need to be, opposed to simply being in opposition to where they are currently and not helping them get to a collective place in where we can all benefit. Some of us look for unicorns and they aren't real. Black elected policy-making unicorns, y'all, they not real. So again, there's nothing wrong with accountability, but I want us to think about the level of grace that we would want someone to show us while we're learning, to in some instances look to extend that to others while they're trying to figure out how to do. And then I'll shut up with this. Lastly, some of y'all know that your assignment is to do what hasn't been done, and you aren't fulfilling your assignment. You're counting on someone else to do your assignment.
Just said a word.
And that's why the assignment isn't being done. I wasn't waiting on anybody else in Charlottesville to do what I know needed to be done for my people. I was the youngest ever elected, only the 6th Black person elected, and literally they tried to kill me while I was in office, me and my family, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my assignment. That wasn't for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I want y'all to think about what your assignment is and then go do it.
So, yeah, give it up. So I just want to follow up on that and the whole all skin folk and kinfolk, and actually connect it back to the other discussion around the police violence. Because I agree with everything that Wes just said. Everything that he just said. In fact, we work with a lot of elected officials, and we know Black elected officials, and we know the difficulties that they face. And to Latasha's point about the Reagan years, sometimes as a Black mayor, what you are dealing with is something that is decades old in terms of infrastructure and water and all that. And I know that our community can sometimes expect stuff to happen overnight that wasn't going to happen overnight. Keith and them, like in that city, that new Black mayor is probably going to face some backlash, right? So I agree with everything that Wes said, because there are some good Black local elected officials that are trying to make the most out of a bad situation, surrounded by a red county and a red state. That's real. But I think there's a difference between those that are well-meaning and just falling short and facing critique, and those. So I left out when I was talking about all the different pain to power, right? I left one out, at least one. In Louisville, where Breonna Taylor was killed, where there was a Attorney General, who refused to press charges and then had the audacity to run for governor and try to get black votes in doing so. Y'all, everybody, you see all these polls talking about black men are gonna vote, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That ain't work in Kentucky, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. In Georgia, and when they decided that the best way to beat Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, this ain't partisan, I'm just talking facts. It's just facts. That they thought that the best way to do so was to find the black guy who used to run with the ball, but at present time couldn't even put a sentence together. Because they thought that as black men, we would naturally vote for the guy that used to run with the ball. But all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And so there are folks who, well-meaning folks, right, who are facing hard situations, but there are folk who will get on stage and have the audacity to quote Fannie Lou Hamer, talking about, I'm sick and tired, rolling his eyes and all kinds of, and embarrass all of Black America. Well, not yet, maybe not some of us because we don't claim it, right? But that's because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So there are some folk that are well-meaning that we need to give grace and space to. But there are some folk who are anti-Black themselves. And we got to call them out. Yeah, somebody might say, call them in, okay. Sometimes you got to call people in. Some people you can't call in, right? And so, because they was never in the circle. Right. So, but that's important. And then the last thing I'm gonna say on this issue of the police violence, because the people that killed, and again, this ain't a partisan statement, this is just facts. Because we was in the street, some of us here was in the street all throughout 2020, marching for what? Police accountability and against police violence. And there's a lot of us that feel, well, ain't nothing been done because they didn't pass the George Floyd Act. And we mad about that. We are very mad about that. We're not shy about calling out when this administration has not done what we and our community thinks they need to have done, right? We caught hell for months because we were criticizing this administration for not moving faster on voting rights. We had people attacking us, talking about, y'all don't know how government works. Well, and so we not shy about criticizing when they fall short. But these are facts. We was in the street largely because of 3 murders. And at the end of the day, the cops that killed Breonna Taylor was indicted by who? By the Department of Justice. That's facts. Not locally, because that Attorney General refused to do it. It was the Federal Department of Justice that did that. That wouldn't have happened under a different administration. At the end of the day, the people that killed Ahmaud Arbery were convicted by who? By the federal government under federal hate crimes. This Department of Justice did that. I'm just telling you facts. That's all I'm telling you. At the end of the day, Chauvin in Minnesota, yeah, he got convicted on the state crimes, but guess what? He got double convicted because he also got prosecuted and convicted under what? Federal crimes by this Department of Justice. So we can't say nothing's happened on police accountability. We can say not enough's happened. We can say we still want the George Floyd Act. We can still say we want more oversight and more consent decrees and investigations of these police departments. We can say that, and guess what? We say it every day. But just as a matter of fact, it is not accurate to say nothing's happened. So when our cousins say that, and our friends say that, to West's point, it is part of our jobs to at least give them facts. They can make a decision from there. But it's our job to at least give them accurate information, because there's going to be plenty of what? Disinformation being fed to our communities. And the only way that that disinformation is able to succeed is if it is delivered in the space of a vacuum. When we haven't done our jobs, it makes it easier for those that want to lie to us to do so. Because if we don't tell the truth, if we don't give folks information, if we don't have conversations with our folks, guess what? Somebody else will. Somebody else will, who does not mean our community well.
So we heard from Wes around extending grace and working in coalition with kinfolk elected officials. We heard from Cliff on making sure that we're clear about delivering facts, what actually has happened, making sure that we're not feeding into misinformation because of the frustration that is collective and that we all share. I think the other thing that's really important, and I want to come to Insay, I want to come to Tamika and to Latasha to close us out on solutions, but there's one note that I have because press is in the room. And as you take notes and record this, what I hope you will also do is write this down. It is not the sole responsibility of Black people to save America from itself.
Say that again.
It is not our responsibility to swoop in and save any party. It is the responsibility of any and all parties that are seeking out Black voters to follow, understand, and abide by our demands and our agenda. That means you got to spend a hell of a lot more time with us than around primaries, caucuses, and general elections. I want you to understand that Black voters have as much a right to demand, to request, to require, to hold accountable as a white voter, as a brown voter, as an indigenous voter, and as an Asian voter. If I see your headline say anything other than what I'm telling you that I know Black Voters Matter stands for, I will be sure to correct you. Okay, now that we've done that. Solutions. I think it's so important, and Barbara Arnwine, I hope you will come up here. I want us to make sure that we leave our folks with something. LB, you know I'm gonna close with you. But Insay, I'm gonna come to you first. Tamika, if we could be brief, because I know that we're at 9:01. I want to honor the time.
Me.
I charged you what your solution was. You got another one? If you got another one, I'll come back to you too.
Please skip me.
Oh, you were serious?
Yeah,
I thought that was shade because I would have did a
No,
shade.
no,
I would have did a shade.
No, I was serious.
Okay.
No.
So actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come to Barbara first, Insay, Tamika, LB, you'll close us out. Okay. Thank y'all for loving on us enough to have this family conversation. If y'all don't, oh, she's going to this mic. Okay, I was gonna give her mine. This is a living legend right here. I'm glad to see you too. Here you go. That's for you.
Well, this has been an amazing, oh, you're too kind. This has been an amazing panel. What an amazing night. Thank you, Roland Martin, for sharing this with the nation. Because we need these discussions to be nationwide. The honesty that's been on this panel is the talk that we don't hear because we suppress our own voices. So it's so important for us to speak. I just want to say two things. One is I got to give nothing but love to everybody who's here because it takes a special kind of love to stand up for our people. And I love it. And I want to thank Black Voters Matters for creating this space. The second thing I want to say is that when we leave here, we got work to do, folks. We got serious work to do. I talked about today in that panel about the 8th Circuit, did I not? And about that case that can burn away our right to bring any lawsuit to fight racial discrimination in voting under the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. What John Lewis died, gave his life fighting for, what Amelia Boynton, everybody beating on that bridge in Pettus, on the Pettus Bridge in Selma gave their blood for. They're going to tell us we can't have that law to enforce our voting rights? No way. That's our generation that has to stand up. They did what they had to do. We got to do what we must do. And so we want you all in that fight. Join us. We will not stop. The second thing and the last thing is we better pass the Freedom to Vote Act. We better pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. We have to do the work. Don't say I'm not a lawyer. John Lewis wasn't a lawyer. Dr. King wasn't a lawyer. Fannie Lou Hamer wasn't a lawyer. Don't be telling me that this is not your fight. This is all of our fights. They wrote some of the best laws we ever seen out of the hearts and the desires of our people. So that's what I got to say. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to lay a word.
Yeah, Barbara. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
We fight back. 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 We fight back.
Angela Rice set me up. They say all skin folk and kin folk. I feel it. I feel it. I see what they mean. I will be brief. I'm a PK, so this ain't really my ministry, but I'm gonna keep it short. I ultimately I subscribe to the gospel choir theory of organizing. The reason the Georgia Mass Choir can hold a note for so long is because everybody's doing what they can. When they can, you holding your own note. And when an individual vocalist needs to drop out because of competing professional or personal obligations, guess what? It's still choir rehearsal on Wednesday, and we still gonna sing on Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm gonna tell you is that, and I know you've probably heard this before, but it is true. We all need an organizing and a political home, right? That we know these people's names who have done great things throughout the course of history, because that's just the way storytelling works. But y'all, none of us get this done alone. And I'm tired right now. And I don't know if y'all can tell it, but I'm tired, in my body and in my soul. That I've had a lot of grief and a lot of loss. But guess what? I am in community and networked with people who when I just can't, I know that the work is continuing. And guess what? Now that I'm ready to tap back in, people have created avenues because I know that the work is continuing. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm here to tell you is, even if it's not Black Voters Matter, but it absolutely should be, that everyone needs an organizing and a political home. It feels really important. And I think the second thing is don't let them play in our faces and don't let them play in Black people's faces. And what I mean by that is that memory is our superpower. You have to know that when Reagan deregulated a whole bunch of industries, they kicked the teeth in the mouth of unions, that union membership went to the toilet. You have to understand that they closed all the mental health hospitals. And so what we're seeing as a rise in crime, right, is just poor people who don't have the things that they need and they've been abandoned by society. That prisons became a for-profit industry that were traded on the stock market, and now people are making money from it, so they're not gonna divest from it because it's making them rich, right? Don't let them play in your faces. Memory is our superpower, right? You cannot fix what you haven't faced. And so we never lie to the people. We don't lie to ourselves. We look straight ahead at the issue and figure out what we're going to do. The people that were in the streets, the George Floyd racial justice protest that happened in the summer of 2020, 26 million people globally put feet in the street, right? 26, the largest protest period in the history of the world, right? And not only did it happen because people were fed up, but it also happened because we were also in the middle of a global pandemic, but also because people's material needs were being met. For a minute, people felt like they wouldn't lose their house if they went out into the streets with their neighbors, that they might, like they still were able to, like there were resources that were available. People were able to see how they could take care of themselves. That in addition to working and doing the gig economy and doing Uber Eats, right? That at some point we got a chance to sit down. So what I'm saying is, as you're thinking about what you're building, what you're gonna fight for, what you're gonna fight against, also know that South Carolina doesn't have a state minimum wage. That the federal minimum wage is $7.25, that Americans haven't had a raise in 15 years. That the federal minimum wage, the last time it was raised was in 2009, right? So an army marches on its stomach or an army marches on its feet, but people need boots, right? And so as we're thinking about what it is that we're gonna fight for, what it is that we're gonna build, don't let people play in your face, right? Understand that people are working and trying to make it happen, and that we all need each other and that we need political homes, and that it doesn't have to be one superhero in order to make that happen, because that's really never how it's ever happened.
Thank you. Say, Tamika.
I want to, I guess, offer solutions in reference to a question that was asked earlier. The 24-year-old organizer, you lifted up women and children, and to that, as opposed to just going into what I thought I was going to say earlier. I'm trying to avoid the preachy part. We have to leverage the archive. The reason why I keep lifting up history is because the blueprint is already there, right? Wes said something as well, like we don't want to outsource, our liberation. We have agency and we have an ability to actually pave the way for liberation for ourselves. So what does that look like for me? For me, it is media literacy, right? That's something you can do, right? Libraries, they are the most subversive organizations, Bell Hooks said this, that exist. And it's within these libraries, y'all, within these archives, that we can literally find the blueprint. Ella Baker told us to divest, or reminded us or warned us to divest from messianic modes of leadership. There is not one Messiah that's going to come and save us from this hell that we may be living in. We have to become the heroes, the heroines in our own stories. And we can do that. This is South Carolina, and I think many of you in this room will be participating in the whole weekend's long activities. And I think it will culminate in a visit to the newly opened African American Museum, right? What I really do hope and urge you to do is to make contact with the stories, specifically the stories where Black women have held leadership positions and have literally architected their ways out of illiteracy, out of poll taxes, right? We have the citizenship schools. We have the Progressive Club. I'm gonna look up her name again, Septa McClard. I'm gonna say Bernice Robinson, right? You have to make sure you come in contact with the Black Women's Club movement that gets no credit. A lot of those roads lead right directly back to the Low Country. They lead right directly back to Charleston. The board, Brown versus the Board of Ed, Charleston, South Carolina. Okay, you have to leverage the archive. You have to teach yourself the lessons of those who fought before you, because it literally can help you prepare you for this moment right now. And remember, again, presidential elections, it's a warm up. It's a warm up. We've got we're the congressional first, right? There's a whole Alexander, the case that before the Supreme Court, right? The South Carolina first congressional district, right? So like we have things that we can participate in. We can join the LDF and also other Black Voters Matters partners who are trying to spread the word about how our democracy has been taken from us. This is a Section 5 state. So when the Voting Rights Act was gutted back in 2012, right? 2013. Our state was one of those states that didn't act right. So, and what did we do? We ushered in ID laws, which didn't disenfranchise many of our rural aunties and uncles who don't have the ID because they were born to midwives in the rural South. And maybe their midwife didn't process their birth certificate. They were voting before with their military ID or any other ID, but now they can't. We have to connect with those stories. We have to connect across generations, right? My elders, you have to welcome young people, right? Especially down here. Look. Some people think I'm younger than what I am. I'm 43 years old, and I know I still say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. Okay, all right. We have to close those generational gaps, because that's where the stories are. And if I don't know what you went through, if I don't know how you got through it, I'm not going to be able to get through it, and I'm not going to be able to impart that to those coming up behind me.
Thank you, Tamika. Come on, founders. Yes, he did.
I'm gonna be real quick. The first solution is take a look to your left, and then take a look to your right. We got everything we need right in this room. We got everything we need right in this room. And to Tamika's point about the connectivity, that's part of why we do what we do. We just want all of y'all to stay connected. We got folks in here from different states, different generations, different genders, different class backgrounds. If we stay connected and we recognize that none of us are alone, South Carolina is not alone in this battle. North Carolina is not alone in this battle. Georgia, if we all stay connected, that's a big part of the solution right there. And then the other thing I'm gonna say is this, and I think we've demonstrated this a little bit tonight. Y'all, we got to find space for some Black love and Black joy in this movement. This is serious work. This is hard work. It is sometimes painful work. But we got to find some space for some Black love and some Black joy and Black culture in this work that we do. That's why I love working with this sister over here, and why I have the blessing of being able to work with my wife every day. Because that's right, stand up, April.
Stand up, April.
She being rebellious. Stand up, April. Stand up, April. Stand up. I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna go make her stand up. Keep going, Clip. I'm gonna go make her stand up so she not. Okay, good.
She did. Okay, thanks.
Woo! I was going down there.
That's right, because in the darkest of times, even when we in the battle, even when fight, even when we're getting threatened while we drive around on the blackest bus in America, we find some time to have a good laugh. We find some time for a good song, and we sure as hell find some time for some good food. So we got to find some love and joy in this work, y'all, because without that, it cannot be sustained. And this is a protracted struggle.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. I wanted to sing that. I was sitting here and I so wanted God to give me something clever politically to say. I did. I wanted to have this political ending of something around solutions to say. But I've actually been kind of arrested in the spirit sitting here. We have never won based on just strategy. It has always been our spirit. I know that there are some young folk, maybe even some older folk up in here saying, why is she singing a freedom song? This city right here, 85% of Black folk in this country are connected to an ancestor that came through Charleston's port. Did y'all know that? Come on. There were people that were singing that song that would never see it, that their children didn't see it, that their children's children didn't see it. Yet, when they didn't have anything else, it's like, all I got is this spirit to believe that there's something greater that God has for me. I'm not trying to preach whether you believe or not. I can only come from I'm coming from this rich tradition of who I am and who my people are. And I'm saying this, y'all, because this ain't a head game. This is a heart game. Your heart got to be in it. We are tired. It's a lot of pain in this space. It's a lot of trauma. I'm sitting here negotiating my own pain. Some of you all know that I lost my only child a year and a month ago. That I lost my father 2 days after Christmas. That I've lost 6 friends in the last 6 months. That my brother, my grandmother, everybody in my household I grew up with is dead. I ain't saying this in a space for anybody to feel sorry for me. I'm saying this in the space that I am so grateful that God has given me a spirit that even when I can't see my way out, I know what's on the other side. I'm saying this, Black people, because your fate ain't based on no damn party. Your fate ain't based on one candidate. What your spirit believes and how you move, you will not only make a way for you, but for generations behind you. Just as we are sitting up in a hotel on sacred ground that our folks were enslaved, we got the audacity to be on stage with cameras and food and staff because there was somebody that was singing that song 200 years ago that didn't have the privilege of what candidate I'm gonna pick. Didn't have the privilege. I'm saying this, y'all, I need y'all to hear me. That God has something greater for us. You got to stop seeing yourselves as citizens of this nation and start seeing yourself as founders of a new nation. And that requires you not just to take a position because it's popular or it's contrary, because sometimes we just like being contrary. That's okay. I like being contrary sometimes too. I get it. But that requires you to actually see something that is greater than the circumstances that you're in. I always ask people, and I'm going to end in a minute. I always ask people to go through this exercise where I ask people, what would this nation look like without racism? And so when I ask that question, even now, I'm asking it right now, a show of hands. Some of you all have been through this before because we've done Black Voters Matter stuff. How many of you all have never been asked that question? Let me tell you why it's important. There's nothing that has ever existed in the physical realm that wasn't first envisioned. We can't even stop looking at what's going to happen in the 2023 election. We need to be looking at a North Star about what we need, but we got to get serious about it, right? We really got to be serious about it. Not just playing these games of, I'm going to show my little power this way or that, but really get serious about envisioning something different, because all of us are actually sitting in someone's vision. We really are, right? We're out at the shaping of that. And so I'm saying that because I want to give some solutions so bad, and I can, and y'all catch me on another day. I'm gonna have some political solutions for us, and I got the ABCs and the XYZs, all of that. But right now, y'all, at the end of the day, even this election part of the message that you're seeing, the number one piece for creating enslaved Africans was the first thing you do is break their spirit. And I'm saying this to you, it's because we keep listening to people that tell us what we ain't gonna do. How you know what we gonna do? Right? What we ain't gonna do, what we are gonna do. We keep listening to people to tell us what position we need to have. We keep listening to people without really understanding that at the end of the day, what is happening right now, all of this upheaval is happening in this nation. It ain't because we losing, y'all. We are winning. This is what I mean about winning. I'm not talking about no political win. I'm talking about when black folks got the audacity to say that my name, and I don't care what your political position on it, I need y'all to hear me from a different space. When your name is Barack Hussein Obama in this country and you can run for office and win, this ain't about what your feelings are about him or not. I'm saying this is in a nation that literally, if your name wasn't Harry, Joe, or Bill, or Bob, or William, it wasn't even a possibility. Obama became a possibility, whether you like him or not. He became a possibility because some folks had the courage to dream beyond what the circumstance was. And it don't stop with Obama. I'm not even trying to create, I'm not even talking about, we can argue about whether you thought he was effective or not. The bottom line is something shifted. And it ain't gonna never go back again. The possibilities, our children are seeing possibilities of even believing that they can do something that they never thought before. So don't say what don't matter. I know for a fact that as a young person, the first time I saw a black lawyer, I almost lost my mind. I was 10 or 11. I was 10 years old because I came from a working class family. I swear, I started saying, oh, I could do that. I don't know why I didn't think I could do that before that, but for some reason, just seeing them open possibilities for me. So right now, if we got to play in the playground of possibilities, just to get our people to believe, not believe in some system, not to believe in other people, but to believe in our power to change our circumstances, what's wrong with that? But some of us are so caught up in our own egos that we will kill each other's spirit with our opinions, with our ideas, like have no real human concern. I am the first person to tell you that I don't believe our politics are going to save us. I say it all the time. I don't. Our humanity will save us. And so part of what black folk had to reclaim is that as we are engaging in this political system, yes, I feel like we got a greater calling. Like at the end of the day, it ain't about saving America. We saving ourselves, and in that process, our other brothers and sisters are going to be saved too. So as I just close out, there are the four things that I think we have to think about. And I call this kind of this V strategy, and I always talk about it, is one, we need a vision. Instead of spending time talking about all that other stuff, spend time thinking of a vision. Envision what this world gonna look like without racism. Or are you just gonna accept this? The second V is at the end of the day, what do you really value? Part of us, I can almost listen to you and I can tell you what station you listen to. I can tell you what network you listen to. I can literally tell you who you follow on TikTok. All I gotta do is ask you two questions. Because I think that we are dying from a lack of imagination. That we have refused, we're literally going with what is the path of least resistance. So what do you really value? Because when you value your people, you do sometimes what is uncomfortable, what you don't want to do to protect your people. That's just the truth. The third, I'm sorry. The third V is really around your voice. I'm gonna be real quick on this. And you can ask yourself this question. Are you using your voice to kill or to speak life? It's real simple. It's real simple. Are you speaking life into our people? Or are you just constantly, literally talking about the negative? We don't need nobody else telling us how bad stuff is. You think we don't know? I'm living a black life. What possibilities are you bringing forth? And the fourth and the final V. I know this from the depths of my heart, y'all. We will get the victory when we decide we are worthy of it. I swear I believe that, everything in my fiber. And so how we move and navigate through this political piece and how we vote and all those things, if they are informed by those four things, how can we lose? We can't lose. But we're making this be. I'm so full about it, I want to cry. Like, I want to cry. I just want to hug us. I just want to be like, do we not know who we are? Like, why is it okay? We'll sit there, we look at I'll just take a sports piece, even though my partner can't stand when I use sports analogies. But I'll just take a sports piece. We done dominated. We dominated damn tennis. The man he taught his children tennis and didn't even know how to play tennis. Like, just think about that. That's just how powerful a mind is when you believe, right? You dominating golf, the widest sport in the world. Golf. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm using those as examples, and it's not about those individuals. I'm just saying that literally, that when people believe throughout the barriers, we've always been able to break through, right? And so part of this piece around how we engage in this election cycle, some things I'm gonna tell y'all, I don't know. There's some questions me and Cliff was over here saying, we was like, we don't even know how to answer them yet. We're trying to figure it out. What I know for sure is if I keep talking to you, Stephanie, if I keep talking to y'all, if I keep talking to you, Carla, if I keep talking to you, Barbara, I'm gonna figure it out, because I ain't got to figure it out by myself. And so part of this, we may leave, part of the solution is being in spirit and in community with each other. And we have to recognize that at the end of the day, we got to go higher. We can't keep staying in this conversation down here. I'm going higher, right? This nation got to get higher. My great-great-grandchildren ain't about to put up with this bullshit. We're not having this. Like, that's not what is intended, but I have to do what I have to do in this space, and you do too. So the thing that I will leave you with is what I know for sure is that when people really believe, when you believe with everything your fiber you believe, you will find a way. You will find a way, Harriet Tubman, when you can't read or write and there's a 50,000 bounty on your head, and you actually have blackouts, and you see it's a star in the sky, and then y'all got the nerve telling us what Biden done did. Come out here. Don't miss me with that. How you gonna stop you? Or Trump? What are you gonna do? And where's the North Star? I really believe, and maybe there's a Bible verse my grandmother used to say about the last will be first and the first will be last. Black people, I don't think our liberation is just for us. I honest to God believe that we are to help lead the world. And so if we are in these small level conversations, not really understanding the magnificence of who you are. We are a people that the form of slavery that we experience in this nation had never been experienced over the world. People tell you all the time, well, there was slavery everywhere. No, not chattel slavery. Here we came from being dehumanized. What better story that the folks were dehumanized would teach the world how to be human again? You can't get no better than that. Right? You can't get no better. What better story that the people that were the most powerless are leading, become the people that actually will understand real power, what it means to have power to share. Because at the end of the day, like literally, the fact that America ain't burned down to the ground shows how gracious we are. I'm just being honest. The fact that we literally every day in and day out, the fact that I had a great-great-grandmother that was a wet nurse that literally was suckling a baby at her breast when her own child was being, what kind of humanity is that? That's what you come from. That's who you are. And so if we could just, if y'all don't remember nothing else that I say, our politics will not save us, but our humanity will.
Thank you, everyone. Latasha, Cliff, Tamika, Wes, Insay, we appreciate you all.
We appreciate you. Y'all give it up for Angela Rye.
Give it up for Angela Rye.
Give it up for your neighbors.
The number
Right, tell
Native. No, what's the podcast? I know the name of the podcast. I'm telling you.
I gotta do it.
What is the name of the podcast?
The name
Angela
of the
Rye?
podcast is Native Land Pod, and we start every episode by saying "Welcome home, y'all." So I extend that
Where
to you.
can they
all tonight.
find it?
Can I just end with "Welcome home, y'all"? Wherever your podcasts are available, you can find the pod. As I said, "Welcome home, y'all." Turn to your neighbor and say, "Welcome home, y'all."
Welcome home, y'all.
With your magnificent self. I love that.